One of my favorite rookies for the 2023 season is Devon Achane. He's been an underrated player for Texas A&M over the last 2 years, and specifically had that insane kickoff return to help them beat Alabama in 2021. Achane is one of the best rookie athletes in the country, was highly sought after coming out of high school, was pretty good at Texas A&M, and could really fit well for Mike McDaniel and the Dolphins. In today's video, I'm going to introduce you to who Achane is. We're going to talk about his meteoric rise in high school, his career at Texas A&M, why he is such a great fit for the Dolphins, and why this is also the steal of the draft. But before we get started, quickly be sure to leave a like if you want to support today's video, subscribe if you're new and love college football content, let me know what rookie I should cover in my next video, and also turn on post notifications so you never miss when I upload. Now, let's get started and talk about the insane rise of Devon Achane. Here's a quote from a rival high school coach. "He's the most dangerous offensive football player I've ever coached against." That's pretty high praise. Growing up in the Lone Star State, Devon Achane grew up in Missouri City, Texas, and from a young age was a star football player and had elite athletic trait. This could make him into a local legend, and Coach Kevin Hall has just about seen it all in Texas high school football. He said, quote, "Nothing was as epic as the time he coached against Devon Achane." He said, quote, "The best football player I've ever played against was Thurman Thomas, and Devon is better than him." That is once again high praise. When Achane would arrive at Fort Bend Marshall High School, he was always an athlete, but it took him a little while to get going. He said when he started high school, he was a second-string running back, and finally as a junior, he became the starter. One story in particular stands out to me. Against Manville in a showdown, they needed a spark and basically put the ball in Achane's hands every play. In total, Devon scored 5 rushing touchdowns at quarterback and added 2 more via kickoff return. Kevin Hall said, quote, "I've never seen anybody look so effortless at being so great. It's insane." After his junior year, 24/7 Sports also had high praise for him. They said, quote, "There may not be a more electric high school football player in the country than Fort Bend Marshall all-purpose back Devon Achane." As a junior, he became a 4-star recruit and ran for 1,341 yards and 29 touchdowns. He averaged over 10 yards per carry and also had 26 catches for 642 yards and 8 scores. He also returned 5 punts and kickoffs for touchdowns. This gained him big-time offers from all around the country, including Alabama, Auburn, Georgia, LSU, Tennessee, USC, and all the major Texas programs. But apparently he did not like the recruiting process. His coach said, quote, "He didn't necessarily like talking to a bunch of coaches. He narrowed it down pretty quickly, and he wanted to get in and out. He felt he was forced to do all that social media recruiting stuff, and he didn't want to make highlight films or any of that kind of stuff." By the fall of his senior year, he had narrowed it down to Texas A&M and LSU. Eventually he chose the Aggies, and this was a huge get. Why Texas A&M? Well, he said it was his comfort level with the offensive scheme, the coaching staff, and the ability to play early helped the Aggies win out. Jimbo Fisher was obviously pumped to have Achane committed, and him seeing Isaiah Spiller play as a true freshman also helped convince him to commit there. Maybe he could play as a freshman too, with how well he played as a senior. In his final year, he ran for 2,097 yards with 38 touchdowns, 32 catches, 694 receiving yards, 10 receiving scores, 11.5 yards per carry, and was also named the Houston Offensive Player of the Year in 2019. He was one of the flashiest recruits in the class of 2020, but football was still not his only great sport. All in all, Achane was elite. He was an insane track star, and his track coach said, quote, "I always tell people when it comes down to the greatest athletes in Texas history, he's up there. I can't think of too many athletes who won 2 state championships in track and then went and won 2 state championships in football." I agree. During his entire high school career, he rushed for 4,795 yards and 87 touchdowns, making him a Texas legend. Scouts and coaches were high on him, with one saying, quote, "I have total confidence that he'll be playing in the NFL on the next level in a few years. He's just a special kid who has that special touch that not many have." According to 24/7 Sports, Achane was a 4-star recruit, the #1 all-purpose back, and the 55th best player in the class of 2020. He was setting himself up for an NFL career, but first he'd have to make a pit stop in College Station. How did he end up doing? Well, let's take a look. When he arrived in College Station, he would play 2 sports, as he was both a track and football player, and he knew his spot on the track, but not on the football field. In 2020, Achane was stuck behind their star running back Isaiah Spiller, but he'd still get an opportunity to play in a couple of games. He scored his first career touchdown against Arkansas in late October, had 2 touchdowns and a road victory over South Carolina, and then had 9 carries for 99 yards against Auburn. All 5 games he appeared in, they won, and then he had his breakout performance against number 13 North Carolina. In what was a crazy game, Achane would end up carrying the ball 12 times for 140 yards and 2 touchdowns. They'd knock off the number 13 Heels, and he'd finish the 2020 season with 43 carries for 364 yards and 4 touchdowns. He showed his immense potential. Going into 2021, he was once again stuck behind Isaiah Spiller, and they formed one of the best duos in the country. Achane would run the ball 12 times for 124 yards and 2 touchdowns in their Week 1 victory over Kent State, scored a touchdown against New Mexico, and then had one of the highlights of the 2021 season. Against number 1 Alabama, A&M desperately needed a spark, and Achane returned a kickoff all the way back for a touchdown. The Aggies would end up having that late touchdown and field goal, and they would beat number 1 Alabama 41-38. That was a major night for him. The next 3 games were the best stretch of his career so far. He had 124 yards and 2 touchdowns in a win over Mizzou, 154 yards and a touchdown against South Carolina, 98 yards in a win over number 13 Auburn, and then 110 yards and 2 touchdowns in a road loss to Mississippi. He'd also have 2 scores against Prairie View A&M, and would finish the 2021 season with 910 yards and 9 touchdowns. Achane was a pretty big deal, and now with Isaiah Spiller off to the NFL, he was going to have his chance to be the main back in 2022 and hopefully elevate his draft stock to the first round. He'd end up having a tremendous year as he scored touchdowns in his first 4 games against Sam Houston State, App State, Miami, and Arkansas. The Arkansas game was a career high in yardage for him as he had 159 yards in that 23-21 win. The following week, he'd go for over 100 yards in a loss to Mississippi State before he'd have a decent game against number 1 Bama, which they lost. After that, he had 99 yards and a touchdown against South Carolina, 138 yards in a loss to Ole Miss, and 122 yards and 2 touchdowns in a home loss to Florida. A&M was struggling as they had now lost 5 straight, but in his final collegiate game, he'd go out on top. Against number 5 LSU, he carried the ball 38 times for 215 yards and 2 touchdowns. He helped them beat the number 5 Tigers 38-23, and that would put him over the 1,000-yard mark for the season. He finished with 1,102 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 3 receiving touchdowns. He would now be headed off to the NFL, and he finished his A&M career with 2,900 scrimmage yards and 26 touchdowns. Not only was he a great running back, but he also caught 65 passes for 554 yards and 5 scores in 3 seasons as a pass catcher, and then he ran the fastest time of any back in the 2023 draft. One scout said, quote, "He's a matchup problem. Whether you get him in punt return or kick return, or put him in space on an underneath out route, he has a unique ability for a running back." According to NFL Mock Database, he was the 65th best prospect and had a 7% chance of going in the first round. There were some really unique draft selections this year, and the Miami Dolphins definitely had one. Achane was by far the most intriguing pick of the Dolphins' 2023 draft class, as he was taken 84th overall in the 3rd round. He ran a 4.33 40-yard dash time, ran a 10.14 100-meter dash, had a great vertical ability, and just overall was really good. The one thing that would probably affect him was his height, but he makes up for that in effort and heart, and is just apparently an awesome fit for them. Mike McDaniel loves speed, he loves getting players out in the open field, and Achane could easily settle into that number 2 back spot. He can carry the ball, he can catch passes out of the backfield, and can confuse the defense. What do the Dolphins scouts think? One said, quote, "McDaniel thrives with a zone blocking attack, allowing his offensive linemen to get out in space and create massive running lanes for the running back. Achane will carve up defenses on the ground, and his chops as a pass catcher could boost the first-year ball carrier into elite status in year 1. So right now, some people are saying that Achane could be the most underrated running back in the 2023 NFL draft class. He can do a little bit of everything, will fit a really good system, will be placed in a really good system, and in my opinion, was overlooked in this year's draft. I think he should have been a 2nd-round pick, and he'll have to compete with Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, Myles Gaskin, and Salvador Ahmad at running back. I'm really excited to see what he's going to do in the Dolphins offense, and if he can have the highlight plays like he had at A&M, he's going to be a household name soon. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you did, be sure to give it a like, let me know what player I should cover next, subscribe if you're new, and check out all of the videos on the end screen. Hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.